What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Fireside Yarns. I'm Reese, and with me always, of course, is Davey and Vinno. Davey, how you going, mate? Looking very fresh today.
Yeah, I'm feeling fresh, mate. Thank you for asking.
Fresh? I like it, I like it. Vinno, how you doing, bro?
Yes.
Oh, love it. That's so good.
I like him better this way.
Can't see his face, can't hear him talk. Perfect.
Fuck, my missus loves it too. Don't worry about that.
Too good, too good. So if you might have noticed already, we've got a bit of a special episode tonight. We're jumping in onto the All Hallows Eve Halloween special tonight. So we've got a few things in store. Basically, we challenged ourselves with this episode, and we all sort of picked a subject each that we had to kind of study into and read up a little bit about, so we can try and spark some good conversation and maybe learn a thing or two. Because me personally, I don't really know a huge deal about Halloween. It's not something I've celebrated until the last couple of years anyway. So yeah, we've done that, and we're hopefully going to find out a little bit of history about where Halloween started as well. So yeah, without further ado, I suppose we'll kick her in the guts. And I think Davey wants to tip it off and go first, so I'll hand it over to him.
Well, Reese actually gave me the task of Stingy Jack. And how do I start that? I guess when we think of Halloween, I'd say one of the first things that comes to mind are jack-o'-lanterns, right? And they're usually depicted as like a fucking pumpkin with a spooky face carved in it, hollowed out with a candle placed inside, illuminating the face. And it's really one of the more iconic and oldest parts of the tradition.
I've actually got your mate Stingy Jack with me. I made him this morning.
He's everywhere. He's like Jesus and God.
Come and say good day there. Oh,
that's
Stingy
fucking
Jack.
Nice, man. And he's a little bit Jack Skellington-y.
Yeah. I thought
That's
I did
beautiful.
a pretty good job. It's the second time I've ever done it.
It's fucking beautiful, man.
You did not fucking carve that yourself.
I
For
fucking
the
did.
number two, it's not shit.
I'm dead serious, bro. I did it this morning.
I saw them.
I've got another pumpkin on the bench. I
saw those at Big W this afternoon.
No, you didn't. You didn't say shit. I'll send you through the evidence photos as I was doing it.
Can we have a live video of you doing it?
I don't know if there's a live video, but I definitely did it. Not bullshit.
No, I believe you. Yeah.
Ask the missus. Who
We will issue an apology.
A shout out to for the get up.
Yeah, shout out to the missuses.
Yeah.
The Miss I. What's plural for missuses? The missiles.
I think you just missiles.
Yeah, the missiles. They're coming from.
Misses.
Now, there is actually an old Irish folk tale about the origins of jack-o'-lanterns, and that is the story of Stingy Jack.
Ooh.
Now, as the story goes, all right, everybody, centuries ago in a small country town in Ireland, there lived a drunkard known as Stingy Jack. Now, Jack was known throughout the land as the biggest liar and deceiver of the whole island. He was said to have such a great wit and a silver tongue, and he used to manipulate people into paying for his debaucherous way of life. He was a little bit like an Irish Eddie Guerrero. He'd lie, he'd cheat, and he would steal. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero.
I love that.
Now look, he was so well known, he became infamous for his vile reputation. So infamous, in fact, that his tales of his evil deeds reached all the way to the fiery depths of hell. Now, one night, as usual, Jack was stumbling along the cobblestones. He was pissed, poor old Jack, when a body came before him, like a silhouette. And as Jack had got closer to him, he knew who it was. He knew who it was. It was the devil. It was Satan there, and he was there to take Jack to hell, where he belonged. The devil came up to him. He said, "Hello, Jack. It's me, the devil, innit?" And I will apologise. Well, apologise to English people, but just like in Hollywood, in Irish folk tales, our evil folk have English accents. But that's just how it is. So he said, "Oh, you bloody governor, you blimey cunt." He said, are you this stingy? Are you this Stingy Jack I've heard about? You gotta come with me back to hell, innit?
This is just become a fucking Peaky Blinders episode.
so Jack says, sure, Satan, now I understand, like, I've been a bit bad now, but just like yourself, some people out there doing God's work. Well, I'm doing your work. So how about, just as a thank you, before you take me away, you bollocks, yeah, will you take me to the pub and shout me one last round? And the devil said, what, Jack? How about I take you down to the pub and I'll give you 2 rounds because you've been so good for me, the devil, innit? So he takes him down to the pub and they walk in together and everyone's like, holy fuck, look, Jack's rolling deep tonight. He's got the fucking devil with him. Jack felt like he was bulletproof. He was $1 million in there, and he walked in. He had a little green tie and his little hat, and he was ready. And he said, 2 rounds straight up. Put him on the bar and get the devil around. What do you drink? He said, creme de la creme. I'm like, oh, all right, snazzy. So they got through it. They're laughing, they're drinking, they're actually having a bit of a good time. And the devil looks at the clock. And he's like, Jack, it's nearly that time now, isn't it? He's a little bit drunk. And Jack starts, he's like, I've got to pay the barman. The barman's like, come on now, Jack, no, you got to pay us. So you're stingy, we know, but come on now. You're here with the big fella now, come on. And Jack says, but the devil, like, he looks at Satan. He said, I have no money, you're going to pay for me. And how are you going to pay? You're the devil. Surely you don't have no currency. And the devil said, oh, Jack, you bloody... And then he said, I'm the bloody devil. And, like, all smugly, he goes, poof. And he turns himself into a coin. A little bit like this one, everybody. It's a little bit like that coin. Yes!
Right, this is the best thing ever.
And it landed, listen to me now, it landed in Jack's hand. And the devil said, pay the barman. And he goes to the barman. But in the last minute, he turns it and he flicks it into his pocket. And in his pocket is a silver cross. And this silver cross trapped the devil. And the devil's in the pocket trapping this coin. He's like, oi, Jack, you bloody double-crossed me. I should have known better. Not that crafty Irishman tricks a silly, stupid, horrible Englishman. Is what he said. But he wasn't Englishman, he was the devil. He just sounds like... Apologies.
Oh.
Now Jack says, no, look. You're a man after me old heart now there, Lucifer. So how about we make a little bargain? How about you let me live for 10 more years? And Zane goes, all right then. A deal's a deal. And he says, Jack, you got it. And the devil went, poof. He goes away. Jack let him go. So 10 years later, Jack's walking down the road. Needless to say, this is 10 years later. He's a little bit more drunk, he's a little bit more worse for wear. He has liver spots here and there. He's not looking fucking good. Jack lived a fucked life. Then, poof, to the minute, 10 years later, the devil comes back and he said, Jack, it's time to pay the piper. Come with me to hell. I'm the fucking devil, innit? Jack says, now look, I understand it's been 10 years, I'm a man of my word. But how would you say this, since you're here, how would you like to do one last fuck thing with me? You see that apple tree over there now, they're fucking nice apples, and I know you're a man who likes to tempt people with the old apple now. and that apple tree is on holy grounds now, and that's owned by a fucking priest. And me and you saying, we hate priests. So what you say, we get one more apple out of the tree, he'll fucking hate it. He will hate it on him, he will, so he will. How about we go get that apple? So the devil goes, all right, Jack, that seems fair, and wall them down here. Those fucking weird virgins, let's fuck with them, eh? So they walk down. Obviously, the devil's walking like... They get there, and Jack's like, I'm too fucking sure. How am I supposed to get up there and get this apple? The devil goes, I'll get it for you. And he climbs up, he scales the tree. You should have seen him, he's beautiful. Got hooves, motherfucker, and he's up the tree like that. And Jack... really, really quick, he starts running around the tree, starts carving fucking crucifixes all around the base of it. And the devil's like, oh, you can't. He's stuck up the tree. And Jack goes, I got you again, Satan. Fuck you.
Oh,
got him again. That's right. And he said, now look, the last time, if you want out of that tree, you have to promise that you'll never take me soul. And Satan goes, oh, fuck. All right, Jack, you've done it. I'll never take your soul. And Jack's like, all right, poof, down from the tree. Deal was made with the devil, and Jack got to live his life then. Now, sadly, the life that Jack would live, he ended up drunk in an alley, piss on himself, a little bit of poo, in fairness to him. We don't want to sensationalise it all. It wasn't a lot of poo. But horrible, horrible death. But he died how he lived. And he goes up and he gets to the gates of heaven. He's there now, he's done it. And he knocks on it. Ding, ding, ding. And out comes fucking St. Peter and he's like, Jack, you're the biggest liar and thief in Ireland. What makes you fucking think you're going to get in here? Off you pop, off to hell. Jack's like, fuck. All right. Let's go. I know him anyway. I'm going to go down, see if he give me a nice little spot down there. So he goes down, he crosses through, back through the land of the living. It's a dark land for people. For people now, if you're dead and you're not in hell and you're not in heaven, you're in purgatory, which is a hopeless a place for the soulless to wander. Right? But he gets through it and it's fucking dark and you can hardly see. You can barely see with your eyes. But he gets to fucking hell. And then in hell, he knocks on the gates. Fucking Jesus. And fucking Satan walks out himself and he's like, oh, look how it is if it ain't fucking Stingy Jack. What brings you here, mate? I was like, Stingy was like, sure, he won't let me up there in heaven. They're saying I'm too bad, so I came down here where I belong with you. And he's like, nah, Jack, you made a deal with me. I cannot take your fucking soul. You are bound to live in purgatory. You're doomed to walk the earth as a living spirit halfway between our world, and the world of the dead. Jack was like, oh, will you please give me some mercy? Again, I'm after your own heart, Satan. And the devil said, you know what, Jack? I'm going to give you one thing. It's dark out there. It's dark out there in purgatory. I'm going to give you one glowing ember from the depths of hell that you can take with you. And he grabs it. And he chucks it to him, and Jack catches it, and like a hot potato. No, you know. How am I going to carry this thing? But he needed it. Otherwise, he's going to be fucking going through purgatory like this. So he picked from the ground a turnip, not a pumpkin. And he hollowed it out, and he put the ember in it so he could hold it. And he couldn't fucking see. He's like, what am I going to do? So he carved that face in it. And that's Stingy Jack. And now listen, everybody. When you're out there on the road and in the darkness, you see a glowing ember in a carved out pumpkin, and you see him. You make sure you say, "You all right, Jack? How are you going?" Because he's just one of us, and that's it. And that's the legend of Stingy Jack.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, thanks for joining us on another week of Fireside Yarns, because I don't think anyone can follow that.
Poem, how good was that?
Bro, that was awesome.
He should have
I'm not even joking.
last.
That was so well prepared.
Yeah,
And
dude.
we're all big fat losers now.
I ad-libbed that story.
No wonder you wanted to go first.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it out of the way so I can get on the piss now.
Fucking hell.
Oh, wow.
That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Reese,
I did not
man,
expect
fuck
that.
you.
That was beautiful.
Oh, man.
Man, how do we follow that? How? Lucky Vinno's up next.
I thought I'll go next. But mine is nowhere near comical like that.
Now,
Fucking brilliant.
now I gave you this, didn't I? I gave you
You gave me this one, and
Yeah.
I had a look at it from many angles, because there is so many different aspects that you can go down. It actually falls in line with some of the topics that we've spoken about before. But it is a very old Halloween theme and story, and Dave gave me the Salem witch trials.
Nice.
So
I know stuff all about this either.
yeah,
so
dude, I thought I knew a little
I'm
bit.
ready to learn.
So I looked into it. So, I thought about going all the way back to the roots of witch trials, which stem from Europe, because it was interesting the crossover that the Salem witch trials were happening right at the end of the witch era, I suppose, in Europe, which stemmed from Scotland and all areas of Europe, and it was heavily driven by religion, by fear, definitely, and in this case, especially with the Salem witch trials, through family feuds. Well, and it really is an interesting topic, or when you start looking into it. Not so much scary as far as dealing with the undead, but just what the capabilities of humans, what we actually are really like. So fearing something that wasn't real brought out the worst in humanity, and that's definitely something to... Yeah, man, it's
Yeah.
So, as I said, like the trials, or Salem witch trials, started really at the end of the European witch era in 1692 to 1693. So there was more than 200 people were accused of being witches. Out of that, 30 were found guilty. 19 of them were executed. The youngest being a 4-year-old girl. Now
That's brutal.
Men are dogs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just humans either. It was fucking animals killed. They were accused of being possessed, or being pets of witches and those sorts of things. So
Familiars, isn't it?
yeah, and that's so the 4-year-old girl that I mentioned, and I'll get down to her a bit further on, but she was accused because she had been given a snake, or she told the authorities that she'd been given a snake by her mother, who had been accused, and she was involved in the family feud sort of thing, and they accused her and the snake of being her familiar. So yeah, she was executed, which is fucked up because, you know, between a family feud, the church, obviously it was pushed quite heavily through the church.
I don't believe that.
Man, I've said it before about my hatred for extremism, and this is a perfect example of that. And using authority and religious standings and superstition to push an agenda, and one that wasn't justified by any standards. And it's only of recent years that they have sort of started forgiving, or, you know, abdicating those people that were executed and marked as criminals.
Yeah, well.
So yeah, at the 300th anniversary in 1992, the victims of the trials had a memorial dedicated to them in Salem, or Danvers. In 1957, an act was passed by the Massachusetts legislature which absolved 6 people. So that's only as recent, you know, it's the 50s, 1950s. That these, you know, it's been an ongoing thing. It's just such a, I'm trying to find the word. It's such a strong or heinous act that it's sort of it's taken so long for people to put their hand up and go, yeah, this was fucked up, this was wrong, especially the church. That doesn't surprise anybody. So, as I said, I can go down many different aspects as to where it started, and I've got plenty of notes and stuff here as well, but it surprisingly, what kicked it off is an unknown ailment. It is what caused people to start believing in witches, and there has been some medical studies into why it was fits. It was two young girls started fitting and having night terrors as such, and obviously with people not knowing, you know, or having the medical knowledge that we do nowadays, you know, they seek the church, and unfortunately back then, the fucking church was very quick just to start blaming the devil, or claiming possession and all those sorts of things. So, throw in there the family feuds that were happening in the area at the time, the local government, and their inaction or their corrupt nature as well for that era, and you end up with what ended up being the Salem witch trial. So it's yeah, I'm fucking struggling to breathe in this mask. That's for fucking sure. Puffing and fucking panting and carrying on. Sorry, I can have a drink now. Oh fuck!
Now Vinno's brought out the real costume.
We'll go faster.
Struggling to fucking read too. Right.
Like, I mean, we'll forgive you because we didn't have much time to prepare, so it's fine.
It's Fest in Blumenthal now.
Look, as I said to Reese, I was looking to order Squid Game costume, and I just wasn't confident that it was going to show up in time. Yeah, man, I was pretty disappointed.
That'd be wicked. That would have been wicked.
Uh-huh. So hence I'm stuck with that mask, and yeah, like I said, I was fucking struggling to breathe. Yeah, so it's one of the most notorious cases of mass hysteria as well, which is relevant around here. I mean, not quite on the same scale, but you look at the toilet paper incident with COVID-19 and how people reacted to a pandemic.
Shitty bums, man.
Man, everyone's fucking scared of a shitty bum. So it was, yeah, pretty fucking shit time. And like I said, I didn't know much. I thought I knew a bit about it up until I started really looking into it, and then it just becomes a fucking rabbit hole. So, you've got the old ancient legends about and all that sort of stuff, and but it really does, when you break it down and start looking into it, yeah.
Has it been brought into like pop culture and stuff too? Is like there been movies or books?
There is
everything. Yeah,
yeah, man. It is such a big topic, and because of
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, man, what a cracker of a movie that was.
It's Sabrina, the
Hocus
teenage
Pocus.
witch. Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus.
Oh yeah, Hocus Pocus was awesome.
They're doing a remake, aren't they? Or not a
Yeah, I
remake.
think it's
they're
already
doing a
done.
remake.
Is it
New
already
Orleans,
done?
isn't it? I think it's filmed, isn't it?
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it's already out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it out? I haven't seen it if it's out. But I love
pretty
the
sure it
original.
is.
I love the original.
The original was the best.
Parker.
Yeah, man.
Little children. I was only a little kid. I was like, I'll go with her, mommy.
Yeah, man.
Fucking, she's ferocious in that. What a singer.
Yeah,
great,
man.
Great show, man. Fucking.
Sorry, no, I was thinking of the remake of Witches.
Oh man, that's here.
Remember Witches?
Yeah, the Anne Hathaway's the new one, but that old one when Angelica Houston. Fuck, man, that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I was peeking as a kid watching that shit.
And shit. Fuck. But with Salem as well, they were like the types of things that they would in the trials that they would try and exonerate you for. It's like, wasn't it if you're witches would be made of wood or something like that, isn't it? Like
Man,
if you
there was some crazy shit.
Dead,
yeah, there was
but
some.
if you sunk, you could live.
There was a doctor at the time. Actually, get his name.
Dr. Jekyll.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he claimed that he had the answer to finding witches or being able to find, and some of the shit that that he was coming up with. I mean, pets being killed because he thinks you're too close to them, something like that, And
the cat ladies back then.
Yeah, man, and
they're still around now. They are weird.
I suppose that's probably where the cat from Sabrina got its name too, right?
But yeah, Salem. Yeah,
yeah. So I was sort of a bit lost of which direction to go with it, to be honest. And I just sort of thought that I'd go along with the history side of it. You could almost do a whole episode on that, as far as the crimes committed and the injustices. Once again,
is this like where all the witch burnings and stuff started?
No. So witch burnings had been in Europe nearly a century before, right?
Okay.
So,
even Joan of Arc and like they burned the fuck out people.
Yeah, it was common punishment. But
for heretics, burning is for heretics.
yeah,
So the different forms of execution, but burning for heretics, and witches would fall into that.
hangings.
But
Hangings
this is
were pretty
American.
Yeah, hangings. So there was one guy who was pressed to death for refusing to plead. Yeah.
That's brutal, man.
Man, fucked up.
Like,
yeah.
Wow.
5 people died in jail.
That happens now. Yeah. They got Epstein.
They were oppressed. Yeah.
Oppressed. Yeah, so it's sorry, I was just reading what I'm trying to work out what I wrote down there myself. Yeah, so that's that Joseph Glenville claimed that he could prove the existence of witches and ghosts, supernatural realm. He wrote about the denial of the bodily resurrection and the supernatural spirit. So, there's a perfect example of a grifter back in the day. It's running around claiming, man, that he can tell apart witches and the supernatural and the dead and shit like that. So
there's a market for it, though. And there's a sucker born every day. Even back then, a lot of snake oil, there was a lot of medicine was pretty dodgy. So I'd imagine just people were just so fucking gullible back then.
Man, it's when you look and you can take it back to religion and the strength of religion in those communities and those eras. With those communities, where there was so little knowledge about where we come from, there still is such little knowledge, but we've got a little bit more explanation now. But the church was everything back. What the church said went. Whereas nowadays, the atheism is becoming bigger or more popular or more mainstream, so to speak. So, but saying that,
it's not even so much atheism, but just being agnostic.
Agnosticism's big.
Yeah.
And then there's atheists, and then there's also anti-theists who are anti-religion atheists. You know what I mean? An atheist might just be like, I don't believe in God. But an anti-theist is like, I don't believe in God and I think religion is harmful. And
But truly, to be an atheist, you can't believe in God or the devil or any of that stuff.
Any supernatural.
It's the whole lot. So, but you're right. Back then, it was very, religion was.
You got burned if you didn't.
Yeah.
And I suppose the scary thing, what I looked into it, as I mentioned before, about capabilities of human beings to do some of the harshest shit to other human beings simply based off an accusation. That shit's happening now too. That hasn't left. So
we call it witch hunts for a reason, don't we?
Yeah, and it's but that possibility for that to happen again is still there, even though we like to claim that we are a modern society and we've come a long way. At the same time, we haven't. We've still got that very primitive nature in us, human beings, as communities. So, and that's being used. That's where Salem and those events, commonly used and brought up in politics, and especially when you're talking about crime and criminals and those sorts of things.
People are still, in parts of Africa and the Middle East and even in Saudi Arabia, women still get tried and convicted for witchcraft. And which can be anything from driving a car to wanting to learn or be educated.
It's a means of control in that aspect.
Yeah. It's just a reason for, you know what I mean? It's pretty incredible. It is pretty incredible that it still happens.
Yep.
Because it's a novelty to us now,
But that's the interesting thing as well about Salem witch trials, is it wasn't just women. There was men in there as well. Yeah, 19 of the executed people were women. But yes, there was men, and as I mentioned, animals before. So it was, still the majority of people killed were women, being witches, but it was both sides of the equation. But pretty fucked up stage in history and something, you know, a true event. To me, they're the sort of, they're the ones that concern me the most. And especially, as I said, the moment I started digging in and the rabbit hole, you can go with that. So to a degree, yeah, very unprepared because I couldn't really decide which direction to go down. But because, yeah, being a more lighthearted episode, I didn't want to make it too much of a political statement. But at the same time, it's a bit hard not to with that. Because of the possibility of things like that happening again. You know, you watch some of the events, and as you mentioned before, Dave, in Africa and some of those countries, but also in first world countries, in America itself, where, you know, trials happen with the extreme Christian beliefs over there, even here in Australia as well. Parts of Europe, Middle East, all those sorts of things. It hasn't stopped, and it's not just exclusive to witch trials.
But we get a lot of, there's actually, it's bled through to pop culture as well. Like, as you were talking to before with the movies and stuff. But we, like, witches on broomsticks and black cats and all, like, it's all part of it. Like, it's commercial now. It is a part of Halloween and is a part of.
Well, you even look at
spooky,
even the non-spooky side of it. You look at the Harry Potter series, like witches and wizards and riding broomsticks and stuff like that. I think that shed a different light on it as far as witches and those sorts of things. So
good PR for the witch folk.
Yeah. It wasn't like a negative light against them. It was a positive fighting the evil.
Well, wizards.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
You're a fucking
the
what?
Wizard.
I'm a what?
Potter.
So yeah, definitely look into the Salem witch trials. I thought it was more of a folklore type scenario or story.
Nah, it's real. There are folk tales about it. It's real. Yeah.
Real, yeah. And that's where it sort of took me aback. I thought I knew a bit about it, but yeah, it definitely took me back because just my own personal interest with, you know, the criminal aspect and politics and that sort of thing. And I just sort of went, wow, this is deeper than what I thought it was. Fuck you, Dave, for giving me that one.
Hey.
So obviously in between segments, Dave's going to do another story for us.
I'll do a little history of Halloween if you want at the end.
Yeah, no, do it now because
I definitely want to get into the history of because for me, Halloween's not been something that I've really celebrated most of my life. So
we wanted to ask you that because I didn't grow up in Australia. I came here when I was like 14, right?
Really?
Yeah.
So you were there. You were there. You're like, who's this kid? Me. Why is he so sexy?
Yeah.
Why does he fucking forward pass all the time? Who is this dickhead?
What is it to you? When you were growing up, is it an American thing? Do you think that's not,
that's how I always associated it. It was like, that's an American holiday. We don't celebrate it. Like,
it was, I mean, we saw it mainly through movies and shit, didn't we? Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It wasn't celebrated here. I suppose like it is now, it's not part of the culture. I suppose it still isn't to a degree, but you know what?
It's definitely getting bigger over here. Like the last fair few years now, like we've always had kids trick or treating and stuff on Halloween. Like,
for adults,
it's definitely
it's big for adults. Halloween parties,
Halloween parties.
Any excuse to dress the fuck up. Like,
Look, I think the concept of it, of, you know, getting out into your community and walking around, getting involved, and, you know, is a cool idea. You know, even Rin and I said one Halloween we'd like to sit out the front with a few beers and, you know, the lollies, and as people come past, nice. You know, make it a community thing.
I got me trick or treats here, mate. You want to hook in or?
I don't see you sharing none of them.
Yeah.
Nah, but look, it was big in Ireland because a lot of it, it comes from all that Celtic pagan mythology, you know, and traditions. Okay, look, before I talk about what we got up to in Ireland, I'll talk like in my age group, so the fucking late 80s, early 90s, we'll talk a little bit about Halloween. Now, it's a $1 billion industry nowadays. And its name, Halloween, derives from hallow, which means a holy person or a saint, and Ian, which and the meaning, which means eve, which is the evening or day before the religious festival. Now, Halloween's also known as All Hallows Eve or All Saints Eve. It's a celebration observed in many countries on October 31st, the eve of the Feast of All Hallows Day, which is dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints or hallows, and martyrs and all the departed. Now, Halloween goes as far as back as the Iron Age with ancient Celtic pagans. And the Celtic people lived in the lands of what is now known as like Scotland, Ireland, the UK, parts of Northern Europe. And a lot of the traditions can be traced back to Celtic harvest festivals, and in particular, the Gaelic festival of Samhain, or it's spelled Samhain, which is a 3-day fire festival that's essentially celebrates death and rebirth, and Samhain translates from in Irish to summer's end.
Right.
Now, Samhain celebrated the dead. No, go on. What were you going to say?
I always thought that Halloween was like the one day of the year that the dead, or it was believed that the one day of the year that the dead could walk the earth again. That was what my early thoughts on it were. That was,
it is.
Yeah.
You're right. You are right. So, like, it's celebrated. They celebrate the dead in particular. The celebratory feast paid homage to friends and family who passed away recently. And what it is essentially an invitation,
right,
for their spirits to join the living.
Right.
And most of the rituals have been lost, and all we really know of their traditions we know from Celtic folklore and ancient Roman historians. But we do know that the costumes and the rituals were intended to connect them with spirits. They also sacrificed crops and plants as offerings to the spirits, and in particular for people would play tricks and blame it on the spirits. They even carved faces into hollowed out turnips and used them as lanterns. Yeah, but again, it was to invite your dead relatives back. You'd put a feast on and you'd give them offerings to entice them to come and join the living again. You know, and again, it was an old pagan religion. Now during the Roman invasion, they forced pagans to modernize, and they reframed their traditions in line with Christian holidays and narratives. So Samhain would evolve into All Saints Day, or All Hallow Day, which celebrated Christian saints instead of pagan gods. So they did that with a lot of stuff, even Christmas, the Saturnalia, and all. It's all just pagans made these stories so that you would know the end of the seasons, like even summer's end. You know, like, and Saturnalia is the end. I think the end of the winter.
It's their cultures, yeah, definitely. The way they explain it to their kids and teach their kids through story.
And you'll always remember the date, you know, through this story, you know, and like the story of Jesus, the sun died and then it rose again. You know that because at the time in history, it was where the sun seemed to disappear and then it would come back again. So like, and it's all that it's all the ancient pagan sun worship that that when the Romans came in, they tried to rope it up into the religious festivals as well. And another thing as well, the reason why you don't get these holidays in the likes of England, really, or Australia, or even America at first, is because it was originally seen as a Catholic
anti-religious.
Anti-Protestant or anti-Anglican.
Yeah.
Like it was celebrated by the poor of
the heathens.
So it originally, so in the 19th century, it was still celebrated by Ireland and Scotland, and the Irish and Scottish immigrants obviously brought many Halloween customs to North America, and then through American influence, Halloween spread in the 21st century around everywhere and was popularized. But now again, that's when they started bringing in a bit more of the way we look at it as trick or treating. Now even Ireland then took back a lot of the American narrative on it, costumes, parties, carving pumpkins. Now the reason why it was originally turnips, as I said in the Stingy Jack video, but when the Irish and Scottish immigrants came to America, there was not as much pumpkins, as much turnips, and pumpkins were a lot fucking easier to hollow out than a turnip. So that's just and they were available. So that's how it became that way. And Jack of the Lantern, Jack, you know, old Stingy Jack, lighting bonfires, apple bobbing. Now, in Ireland, for me, like, I loved it. Like, my nanny Una, she used to make all of our fucking outfits, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, spooky shit as well. We had special food we'd eat. Like, so, like, we have this thing called cannon, which is basically like mashed potatoes, and it's got kale in it, and cabbage and onions. And you'd wrap up coins in it, in tin foil, and hide it, and kids would find it, and you'd get your coins and shit. We also had these little cakes. Right. It's like little fruit cakes that have a ring in it, and they'd slice the cake up, and whoever got the ring, you know. And a lot of the food you'd get, as well as sweets and chocolates, when you go around them, people, you would get nuts and pomegranates, which we call wine apples in Ireland. And yeah, we have a lot. Like, the big thing on Halloween in Ireland that I'd look forward to was the bonfire. And everyone in the neighbourhood, you'd go around, you're like, hey mister, you got any wood for the bonfire? And we'd all go around, we'd all collect all the wood. People loved it. Like, yeah, take this, pallets from out the back and all, and we'd build the biggest fucking bonfire in our estate, like in our suburban estate on a football field. We'd build a fucking fire. Dangerous as fuck. But you ever have a chance to look it up, bonfire, Halloween bonfires. Unbelievable time, and it just a great atmosphere. Now, I would advocate for the safer little transition for Australia, but it seems like there's a lot. They love the parties over here; they're coming in big, and like you were saying, trick or treating is a bit of just another reason to have a bit of fun with the kids, isn't it?
Well, it's I mean,
it's
even
soused.
we didn't think about it too much until I moved back here, and you know, saw kids out doing it, and then having a little bloke of my own. Was still a bit too young last year. But yeah, we definitely thought, well, this year, you know, the opportunity's there. You know, and it's good because last year, just going down to the shops, I was knocking off work when everyone was out trick or treating, and you know, seeing people I know out with their kids, I thought, yeah, fucking cool. Like, you don't normally see that to a degree, and especially with lockdown and all that sort of thing finishing, I think
probably be big this year.
Yeah, and people are going to love that, you know, getting out. And
is it your neighbours?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you're getting to know, you're going around. There's a couple of times in Ireland where you would just visit all your neighbours, and one of them was Halloween, and you get around, and some people would be like, fuck off. You know, people would be really fucking into it, and they'd scare the shit out of you, you know. And then we also had our communion, which is another Catholic thing where you'd go around and beg for money, basically, because you're a little kid in a suit. Long story. We'll talk about
Back
that.
To the commune, you hippie.
Oi, we'll talk about that in the Christianity fucking episode or whatever. What the shit they made little kids do in Ireland for Christianity. But anyway, it was a great time. I loved it as a kid. I loved it growing up. And I remember even when I went back to Dublin that time for the 2 years, Halloween was big for adults still, and we're all going to the pub, getting dressed up. The whole night in Dublin, everyone's dressed up. I swear, I was walking down, there was a group of us, and we were walking to the bus stop to go home, and I swear to God, Elvin Alley by himself, this dude dressed as Mr. T, jumped out, and he started throwing those little party Snickers at us. He was just throwing them out. He was like, get some nuts, and he ran away. But it was perfect. It was so perfect. Like, he was running around town by himself all night, and he had like military bottoms on him, you know, with the big pockets on the side.
Yeah, big cargo pockets.
And he's just hurling them at us, and we were drunk. We were
nuts.
like, "Fuck yeah!" Oh, it was so. And yeah, everyone gets dressed. Like, I remember a fella, and he had a little tinfoil hat on and a white T-shirt that just said "salt." Like, you can get away with so much fucking funny stuff, and a priest with a fucking baby attached to his. Like, oh man, it gets rough. It gets rough.
That's awesome. I love that shit.
But like,
it's funny though, because like, man, like growing up, I was always just like, I guess I kind of frowned upon it. I was like,
I tell you,
an American holiday.
Moved here.
Like,
yeah.
Well, that was,
you know,
that was the perception that I suppose came down from the older generations. Was that it was seen that, and that, you know, that got pushed onto us to a degree. But now you're a bit older and a bit more open-minded, you know.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it's only been really the last couple of years that I've sort of really got into it, and like my partner Hannah's definitely had a big hand in that because she froths horror movies, man. Like, watches horror movies flat out. And I used to love horror movies when I was younger. I just can't do them anymore. I don't know.
Can you?
It's hard.
I really want to try, but. Yeah.
Tell you one.
This could really lead me into my subject, I guess.
It could. But let me just tell you something. You know my dog Rico.
Yeah.
With his white face, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The last time that I was really freaked out by a fucking scary movie was we watched Sinister. Right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Niente.
So
Is that Ethan Hawke?
yeah, and the evil spirit's got this
my
white
missus
face.
tried to get me to watch that. Yeah.
And in one scene, he's looking at like a hedgerow sort of thing, and it's there. Anyway, I remembered its face, and I was like, yeah, that was a fucking cool movie. And I was standing at the fucking sink washing up, man. Nighttime, and I could just see my dog's face in the middle of the fucking paddock, right? And he's sitting out there having a shit. I didn't know that. But all I saw was his white paintings through it and freaked me the fuck out, man. Like, yeah. That's
for people listening. Well, that's an ancient ass dog you've got. So, like, you know what I mean? Those are old fucking, they're wolven fucking dogs, man. You know? Like, inside, we're built to be scared shitless of that face, man. Like, our monkey bodies, when we see that face coming out from the thing, we are supposed to be like, all right, back in the tree.
Until he walks up to you, man. Like, he's by no means a scary dog. We always joke that if someone's breaking into the house, he'd be helping them out with the fucking telly, man. Like, because he's just...
You dropped something?
Hey, take all
I
my
kind of
dad's
feel like
shit.
we're going into the pan territory right now because Dave's getting a bit of a black tooth grin going on over here.
Yeah, man. I was afraid when we were doing the line that I'd have a Hitler mo.
True.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
I mean,
look, Reese.
Yeah, speaking of scary
time.
Mate, it's...
Hang on, just before you start, Reese messaged us during the week and said, boys, this is fucked. This topic is scaring the shit out of me. So,
you know, that's Vinno, you chose this, didn't you?
I chose this one, man,
this is what I mean.
is a cool one.
When I was saying like this could lead into my subject, I'll go with it because I don't know if Vinno picked this for me because he knew and he's a cunt, or if I don't know if it was just like a random thing that he was into, whatever. But
general interest.
So like, I used to love horror movies. Like I did when I was younger. I guess more of like the jump scare horror, and then I really sort of got into like psychological thriller type horror, like not so much the scary shit like jumpy and I've always kind of like gore and slasher and that sort of shit. But as I've gotten older, and it all changed for me because I'd never seen any of the Paranormal Activity movies, right? And man, those movies scared the absolute fuck out of me.
No,
dude, it was around the time when
scary, you know?
Bro, it was when the fourth one was coming out at the movies, right? And all the boys, you know, I was back in this time, I was definitely into some medicinal substances.
Some supernatural helpers.
So, yeah, some supernatural, you know.
Supernatural helpers there.
Anyway, the fourth one got announced that it was coming out, right? So one day we're medicating and all the boys are like, have you seen the trailer for the new Paranormal Activity movie? And I'm like, nope, not interested. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, haven't seen any of them. And they're like, what? You haven't seen any of them? Like, it was coming out in like a month or something.
Was that at your place up there at Newcastle Beach?
Yeah. So they're all like, you've never seen any of the Paranormal Activities. So yeah, shout out Greg and Josh and who else would have been there? Can't even remember now.
I just remember
that would have been there.
I remember that Josh's hair felt like a fucking porcupine.
So they're all like, well, dude, you gotta watch the Paranormal Activities. And I'm like, I'm not interested. And they're like, nah, we're going to the movies to watch the fourth one. You gotta watch them. So like for the next like 3 or 4 weeks, man, they made me watch through all the Paranormal Activities. First one scared the fuck out of me. And like, I honestly, man, after seeing those movies, I didn't sleep right for like months. Like, and the next few houses that I lived in, man, I just felt like they were haunted. They probably weren't, but to me, I was just like, this is fucked. So
The Exorcist had that for me, man. I watched it too young that I watched
Too young, yeah. And man, I guess like we were young when...
See, Freddy Krueger was mine. I watched. I remember being a kid.
Man, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is fucking deadly scary when you're like
terrifying.
Well, I was at my grandparents' place, man, and my pop was on the lounge drinking his bottle of wine and shit, and Nightmare on Elm Street was on, and we watched it, and I was freaked out. It finished, and he was like, "All right, good night," and just turned it off. Right. So I'm laying there in the pitch black, just thinking, if I go to sleep, this motherfucker's going to come and get me if I have a dream. Like I'm just that was the one that did it for me, even though it was like more of a slasher thing.
It's a fucking scary concept.
It's a creepy movie, and
scary concept,
you can't
dude.
avoid Freddy because you have to sleep.
You have to sleep. You have to.
He's a fucking pedophile.
You're dead if you don't. You're dead if you do. It's fucking up. It's fucked up.
I love this. They're great movies. They're great movies.
Yeah. But man, the paranormal stuff really freaks me the fuck out. And and I don't care what anyone says. I reckon I've seen a ghost. Not even going to deny it. Straight up, man. I think I was about 16 at the time. My dad's house was built in like 1936, right? So it's pretty old.
It's a good year.
And,
well,
yeah.
Not for Europe.
So
how does Hitler keep coming up in this?
I don't know, man. But yeah, so my dad's house is pretty old, and man, I reckon I would have been about 16 or something. Woke up at some stupid hour of the morning, probably around 3 a.m., which seems to be the time for this shit. And man, I just saw this woman in like the mad, like old corset, big fucking dress thing with the umbrella and shit.
He's like, Dad, what the fuck are you doing?
I don't want to go to school today, Mum.
Nah, fuck you, Dave. What are you doing to me right now?
Dave, that doesn't fucking fit you, man. Go back to bed.
But you said you liked it.
I used to have this chair like sitting next to my door, right? And man, she was just sitting there. And I woke up, man, and I was just
That's
like
asking for it.
I'll just put a chair at the end of my bed here. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, here, did she come at you or anything, or was she just there?
Man was just staring at me. Like,
and were you frozen?
I was like rubbing my eyes, looking, going like, is this for real? Like, am I seeing shit? And I'm like looking at the time, and I'm like, am I awake? Am I dreaming? And man, but like I didn't feel threatened or nothing. But it was just she was there. It was in my head, I can still picture it clear as day. Like, and that's like nearly 20 years ago. Like pretty wild. And I'm just like, so I didn't feel threatened or nothing, but she just wasn't going away. So I just kind of rolled over and pulled the blankets up and
You're not alone. A lot of people have those types of experiences. I'm not someone who believes in that type of stuff, but there's so many fucking people that there is phenomenon involved in it, and that phenomenon, I guess, kind of leads into your subject, doesn't it?
It does. So, Vinno gave me the Warrens. Now, it wasn't until I actually started looking that I realized I have heard of them before. But at first, I was like, the Warrens? What are you talking about? Ed Warren, Lorraine Warren. Ed born in 1926 and Lorraine in 1927. They both grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Both of them have lived their life of demonology. They're essentially the most famous and well-known ghost hunters that have ever existed probably in our time. And basically it all stemmed from them both being helpers and people that just wanted to help others, basically. Ed Warren, I know, grew up in a haunted home from the ages of 5 to 12, which was basically the reason that he wanted to get involved. And Lorraine's quoted that she has basically felt like she's always had a means of connection or being able to speak to spirits or anything since she was a young girl. Ed Warren actually joined the Navy when he was 17 years old on his 17th birthday, and he was shipped away. But he actually met Lorraine when he came home on survivor's leave. He was on a ship that was I couldn't actually tell if it was attacked or blown up or something, but he was one of 69 survivors off the ship.
What was number? 69.
Yeah. Nice. So
it's already not adding up.
It's already not adding up. So he was home on survivor's leave, and they actually met each other out the front of a movie theater. And he didn't actually just ask her, he asked a group of girls, the old stud, if he could buy them a Coke. And Lorraine didn't drink Coke. She'd never liked Coke. And she asked him for a ice cream soda. and he was quoted as saying, "From that moment, he knew that she was a gold digger." But I mean,
she's a witch.
it was pretty much love at first sight from them, from what I can gather.
He was saying she a gold digger. Yeah.
Yeah.
She ain't messing with the broke.
No broke.
No broke.
What a song.
So yeah, I mean, he was with her until the day he died, which was back in 2006.
Holy shit. Okay, so wait. So did you say he was born in 1926 or something?
26. Yep. So he was, I think he said 79, nearly 80 years
That's
old.
a big bucket to win. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good innings.
And Lorraine actually only passed away 2 years ago in 2019.
The ladies live on.
She was around for a couple more years than him. But both of them dedicated their entire lives basically to demonology and talking with spirits, and basically just trying to help people that had lived through some of the things that they'd been through, and they didn't want other people to suffer, which is pretty crazy, because I think a lot of people that get into ghost hunting and stuff do it for the thrill and the fame and all that sort of stuff, where basically it just seems like they were just good-hearted people that were looking out for other people, not so much anything else to do with it. So I think that's pretty noble. And
well, were they true believers? Do you think they were true believers and not grifters?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're both very heavily into religion. Yeah, they're both like God-fearing, people.
They lived it till the day.
Yeah, 100%. They lived it. Yeah. And I mean, their most famous probably thing that they've been involved in was the Amityville Horror, which a lot of people thought was a hoax. From what I've gathered, from what I've found out, pretty shocking story. I mean, I've seen the remake movie that was like with Ryan Reynolds or whatever.
OG is fucking scary, man. That original.
Yeah, so 1979, the original one come out, right? So basically, the Amityville Horror was based around the DeFeo family. Ronald DeFeo shot and killed 6 members of his family inside this house in Amityville, which the property was right on the Amityville River, and it was actually quite a nice property. And when they moved there, they actually named the property High Hopes, which I thought was pretty crazy. But there was a lot of, I guess everyone's saying it was a hoax was because, he shot and killed these 6 members of his family, but they were all face down in their beds, like they'd been positioned that way. But I mean, they had a dog. No neighbors heard any gunshots. Like, there's so many questions around.
There's ancient Indian, or not, won't say ancient.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's
built on the graveyard.
Built on a graveyard of where Indians were actually holding people captive and torturing and stuff like that. And which is a lot of the reason they say the house is so haunted, because spirits are, attracted to the torment of souls and whatnot.
Well, that's and this is the interesting thing, and this is why, or one of the reasons why I picked the Warrens, is because it's quite interesting when you look at Western society's views on spirits as opposed to traditional cultures, right?
Yeah.
Where traditional cultures respect the spirits and that's their elders, and they're not feared to the point where people, they think they're going to cause them harm. They're your ancestors. They're showing you a way. They're teaching you. You pay homage to them. And that's where I'm really interested in the difference between the way we look at spirits or hauntings and stuff like that, as opposed to, as I said, traditional cultures and the way that they engage with spirits.
Haunting. It's more haunting, whereas even with Halloween, we're trying to bring them. The older, the ancient people would try and bring spirits back, and would try and coax them back.
Yep.
Like with the feasts, and like you're right, Vinno, and there was more of a reverence to the dead, who came before us as elders. But now they haunt us. Now they're around. Like even back then, they would ward off evil spirits. But now, if you're a spirit or a ghost and you're not Casper, fuck, And
the interesting thing is, I suppose, like, I'm not a religious person by any standard, but it begs the question that what is afterlife, and is it a case that we, as a people, as a society, have moved so far away from traditional methods of paying homage to those spirits that they have become angry to the point. If these stories are true, is that the case? And disrespect and all those sorts of things. Like, I know I'm reaching there, but
I think that was a big thing with why a lot of people liked Ed and Lorraine, because there was a lot of people I found through watching and researching it, was that so many people said that because of them, they actually found like their faith in God and like something more to come after life kind of thing, and something to look forward to, which is pretty crazy because like I've never been a religious person ever. And I guess back in the day when I was probably naive and didn't understand what the true meaning was, I would have called myself an atheist. And as I've gotten older, I probably think it's probably not so much atheism, it's more agnostic. Like I'm not so much, I don't necessarily believe in religion, and I haven't studied it. I feel like I kind of want to study some religion, so I've just got a bit more knowledge about it. But
an interesting thing, man, is read the Bible. Like, you don't have to believe it, but
that'll make you an atheist.
Yeah, well, man, like it's like, it's interesting, and if you can put yourself in, and this goes for anybody, if you're going to read something like that, go in there with an open mind. Don't go in there as right. I'm going to hate this. I'm just going to disbelieve every one of their stories. If you can sort of think about why those stories, it's interesting.
I knew that's deep down, I knew that if I read it when I was 10 years younger than I am now, I would have been like, this is bullshit. I'm not going to believe a word this thing says. You know what I mean? I would have had an immature attitude to it. You
come out with more questions than what you went in with. Absolutely. And it's to properly understand where these people, Christian, when I say these people, religious groups are coming from.
Say you people.
Yeah, you people. you pumpkin people.
Orange man bad. All right, here we go.
You leave old Stingy Jack out of this, mate. He's done nothing.
I want to apologise to all the MAGA fans out there for me going. I went full orange face up in here. I
golden showers on this show.
I think what you were getting at, though. Yeah, here, I'm up for that and on Fireside. Okay, well, there's nothing's off the table. But what I think you are getting at there, right? So, Reese, like you had an experience, right? So
that's right.
And instead of me being like, all right, mate, it didn't happen. I'm sorry. You were half asleep as a kid. The Warrens would come around and they would confirm you. Okay, look, no, there are spirits. Okay, now what do you want to do? Do you want to get rid of them? What do you want to do? So all of a sudden their visions were taken seriously. They were these people were here to genuinely help you. I'm a very skeptical person with all this type of stuff. But if you are someone who thinks I fucking seen this and I'm experiencing this and I'm having problems with this, it's affecting my fucking little spirit there. A little bit other type of spirit, the spirit nonetheless. But
Jack lives.
They would help them. They would come and just like a priest. So am I afraid of death? A priest might come to you and say, "Don't worry. Give your life to God." And after death, you're gonna meet those people again. You're gonna, your daughter that you lost, or your mother that you've lost, or whoever it is. You're gonna be together.
It fills in the blanks. It fills in the question. Like there is so many questions about life. And
God of the gaps is what they call it.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Yep.
Reese, we're taking away from we're stealing Reese's line.
No, you're fine. No, this is good. I think one of the things that creeped me the fuck out was when they both spoke about going to this house. So the original murders happened, right? And then I can't remember how many years later it was. There was another family that came, the Lutzes, that purchased the property. They were informed of the murders and they said that it wasn't going to be an issue, right? They purchased the house for, I think at the time it was $50,000 US.
50 G's, baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, but beautiful house. When you look at the photos and stuff, it's like old colonial home, big boat shed right on the river, like there's a well and everything. And
It's
yeah,
infamous
pretty
now,
cool.
that house. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when they matched it up, like it was back then in equivalent to what it's worth now, it was like 225,000 American is what they paid for it back then.
Fuck.
To our time now.
Steal.
So the Lusses moved in and they only lasted 28 days in the property. And they literally didn't even pack and leave. They just left. So, yeah, Ed and Lorraine got the call to go to this house, and Mr. Lutz wouldn't even go back to the house to meet him there. He refused. He was just like, he wouldn't go. He said, I will go no closer than 4 blocks to that house. So he was scared shitless. And Ed said to him, what happened in that house? Why don't you want to go back there? And apparently all he did, because they met at a pizza shop to give him the keys. And he asked, what happened in that house? And he just said to Ed, He goes, well, no, mate, I don't know. I want to know what happened. He just kept saying to him, And they both actually described when they first went to the house, and they had a camera crew and everything with them. And Ed
it's like the scene from Scary Movie where Ed had to go and take a shit and all the flies started fucking forming.
Man, I was saying that to Hannah, man. I was like, every time I see this clip or hear about this clip with the flies, all I think of is Scary Movie.
Yeah, Scary Movie ruined horror movies for a while.
Yeah,
in a good way. In a good way.
Help me to release this demon.
Man, that's all I kept saying too.
Oh, and The Simpsons. The Simpsons did a good Amityville horror episode too.
Yeah. But man,
and the Salem Witch Trial one
was such a crazy. When they told about the first time they went there, Ed actually said it's like a custom for him when he goes to a place. The first thing he does is look for a basement or a cellar or something down, like low. Yeah. Because he said they're usually the darkest places, and that's where evil thrives. Like they hate God's light, they hate the sun. So the first thing he does is look for a place like that. So he went straight to the basement of this house, while Lorraine and the camera crew went up after entering the main foyer. They went up to the second floor, and he described it. He said like he walked into the basement. And he had a crucifix with him as he was, with the power of God. And the
power of Christ compels you.
Straight away, he said that he felt the presence instantly as soon as he went down there. And he said it was strong. And he basically said, the power of Christ, of blood and whatever else he said, like to reveal itself. And he said the only way he could describe it was that he instantly felt like he'd walked underneath a waterfall, and the pressure pushing down on him was so immense, nothing he'd ever felt before, like the force that he felt. And he felt that someone had thrown a hot towel over his face and he couldn't breathe and was like being stabbed with 1,000 pins. And I was like, man, that's a pretty like seriously descriptive situation that he's just been into. And at the time, so he was down there, and he then asked with the power of God or whatever for the spirit to leave before it released him, kind of thing. But at the same time, Lorraine was up in the sewing room, and her cameraman quoted that he'll never ever forget what she said to him. And that was that she turned to him and said that she hoped that this is the closest to hell that she would ever get, which is pretty crazy. And she said that as she was walking up the stairs to go to that room, she had the same sensation of feeling like water was pressuring on top of her as soon as she entered into the man. Like, that's crazy.
Quick question on that. Dave, when we were talking about the American Indians before, the traditional inhabitants of America, was that one of the torture methods?
Probably was.
It could now look as well, just so not trying to sensationalize it. This was an old house. Could have been quite a leak in the roof.
Look, yeah.
Now there is water torture. Water torture is a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Native American. I know it's definitely. I think water torture started in Asia, from what I know, and obviously it was popularized during the Second World War, not the second, the Iraq and Afghanistan war. But that is pretty specific, isn't it? Like it's a pins and needles style.
Yeah.
Crushing a powerful thing coming towards you, you know, and it's cold. I think that's another water is cold and it not just hits you, but water surrounds you and immerses you. And like Bruce Lee would say, "Be like water." You know, I apologize, but he would say that because water can form around you. Yeah. I'm wondering, that kind of feeling they felt, that kind of cold embrace, the way it presses down on you, and they both felt that, yeah.
Yeah, man, 100%. But in two separate rooms of the house, without even knowing that they were doing the different things. And when they described it separately, like they had so many similarities of feeling the same thing, but in two separate.
That's what I mean. Being such a substantial or a sacred site for Indian people, you know, that period with torture, with wetting Hessian bags and those sorts of things. And holding it over people's face, suffocation with water is one of the weird forms of death, because you can't get away from it. You're feeling somebody hold you down, whether that was substantial within that feeling, you know, that whether that was it's, I don't know. That's why I like these sorts of things.
It's more than just the supernatural. There's so many.
There's so many questions to it, and having a broader look at it. Like I'm very much on Dave's train of thought with as far as being skeptical as the seriousness of it, but at the same time, I like to think, you know, especially with that house in particular, the historical aspect and the and the events that happened around there. You know, whether there is some connection.
I find it interesting as a cultural phenomenon. Yep. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I just honestly think they were grifters. Like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. But
honestly,
I love it. But
they literally lived their entire lives for it, for decades. Like throughout
they made them
all of our lives, and you know how many of the lives before us. And I mean, in 1952. They opened the New England Society for Psychic Research. They literally have an entire study, and man, like I mean, obviously to them it was very, very real, and I'm sure to a lot of people it's very, very real. And I guess unless it happens to us, it's probably going to seem a bit skeptical until we experience it, I guess, you know.
Anything that doesn't have an evidence to it, or anything you can't explain to somebody.
Well, I think that was a big thing that he quoted a lot that I found because so many people thought that the Amityville Horror was a hoax. And he said back 1970s, whenever it was that they went there, he said he's been saying it from then until he passed away. If you believe it's a hoax and you can prove it, come and prove it to me and I'll give you $3,000. So I imagine $3,000 back then would have been worth a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same...
Still set it up to the day that he died. And he said no one ever came. No one.
Yeah, but how are you... Like, how can you prove there's not a teapot above my head that's telling me what to do? You know, like there's...
True.
Look, I love it. I've been all the way... The macabre, the supernatural. I fucking love it. There's something in it that pulls me to it. And that's our ancient pagan and ancient Christian superstition cultures, you know, or even indigenous cultures. We're always searching for what's beyond, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because is this just it? Like, so I'm open, but I'm fiercely skeptical because of generally when I see not just the Wardens, any kind of anything where you have to suspend kind of the natural way of the world. To believe someone is always going to rub me that way, I guess. But,
Well, when you put aside the
all power
logical
to them.
thought,
And they're making money from it. They made millions of they made a lot of money off it. Their families still make money from today from the Conjuring movies.
I mean,
Fuck
I was
off,
going to
man.
say that's right. The Conjuring universe was another big thing.
Annabelle. It's
Annabelle.
a universe, yeah.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
a lot of
And
money
Film
behind it.
Poltergeist,
I wouldn't say it's
that or
fake
The
either.
Nun.
The
Like,
nuns from it, yeah.
There's so many things that have, well, I mean, horror wise, that have come out of their studies and that sort of thing. And I mean, to be able to live your entire life off that, all the power to you, I guess. Like it
makes people happy as well.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think the biggest thing is the fact that they did it purely. I mean, obviously it was an income to them, but it seemed as though they did it out of good intent. You know, they were trying to help people that had been through similar things. And man, I'll give you the hot tip now. Their entire life for me, that's a straight up nope. 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 I'm not going there.
What about for millions?
Nope. Straight nope.
I don't know. For millions, you might get me dancing around in a fucking Catholic collar. You know, I'll do some crazy shit for money. Just so you know, sponsors. You know.
Hey.
Win a game of Warzone then.
Give me the money. Where's the money? Where's the money?
Show me the money.
Give me millions of dollars and I'll focus my whole life on Warzone. Nah, but look, I'm not trying to dampen it because there's Stingy Jack and Salem witch trials. We can talk about
follow your Stingy Jack story. I'm
liking this
was a good
but
opener.
the Stingy Jack is folklore, all right? Why I like the likes of Salem is because it crosses the supernatural with the reality, but because it affects the real world. Now, Stingy Jack affects us, you know, in a way that story pulls people would carve heads into turnips and pumpkins and shit, and they would in those festivals they would summon the afterlife, people like dead people and family members and all, of course. So again, it still has comfort in that type of stuff, and but I'm always wary of it. But at the same time, skepticism. You can be skeptical of science. You know what I mean? You can be skeptical of atheism to the point of, like, the Warrens were skeptics. You know what I mean? They they were skeptical of new age pharmaceutical medicines. I'd assume because, you know, if someone had these issues. On the olden days, we might have an exorcist brought over, but now we try and treat these things in different ways. And there's some things we still don't know how to treat, you know. But what I love about the Warrens is how many different stories we have from them. They're modern age folk tales. Even if it's true or it's not, it still crosses over into our modern day.
Well, not only that, there's the museum that they've got and all those sorts of things.
That's what I was about to bring
Annabelle's
up.
there. Annabelle's there.
That's right. And man, that is a whole room of straight up nope.
But
man, and I ain't going near that shit.
But if you're
fucking way would you see me dead in that place.
Well, you'd probably be
see alive in there.
Yeah,
but man, we should go there. I
had the same. I guess I had the same question as, like, probably what a lot of people had, is like, why the fuck would you want an entire room in your house full of that shit?
What a creepy shit.
Fuck that, man.
Money.
But she said, well, if I have it, then I don't have to worry about anyone else having it.
That's right. They lock it up, don't they? Don't they lock up that shit?
Bottle is. Like, that was her analogy. Yeah. Fuck that, dude. I'm not. Nope.
Kind of like Ghostbusters.
Just straight nope.
When the Ghostbusters trap all their spirits, they keep it in that one place. You know what I mean? Like, a new Ghostbusters movie coming out this year.
Starring Dave Giles.
Sponsored by the Trading Company.
The Cold Museum, man. Like, I get it. That's cool. Like, whatever. But no, I'm not going there.
I would love to go. I honestly would love to go.
I don't even know how true it is, but I think I actually read about, like, the Annabelle doll escaping and shit. Like,
look, and fuck, in recent years with pop culture and stuff like that, you know, where, you know, the movies have come out, people are trying to cash in as well. To a lot of people, it's entertainment. You know, people, the horror movie buffs like Hannah and that just love it. You know, that's the
man.
sort of place
Literally, man,
they're going to
like-
make millions. You know, if they haven't already, which I imagine they would have. Yeah. Not just off the
universe
movies, but yeah, it's a whole. Yeah.
How many
It's
movies
seven-
have they got from the old Amityvilles to the Conjuring to
No,
Annabelle to the
none.
Nun?
Right,
all
there's
that, man.
heaps.
It's
There's
huge, and
so
books.
many. Like,
And they've
they don't
their
call it the
original stuff
Conjuring
too.
universe for nothing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's
right.
It's
competing with Marvel.
you know, look
insane.
at George Lucas
Conjuring,
created Star
Annabelle,
Wars out of
Conjuring
nowhere,
2,
didn't he?
Annabelle 2, The Nun, Curse of Larona.
Don't get me
La
started on the
Llorona.
evils of Star Wars. Yeah.
I think, and there's a new one out this year, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
I've
Yeah,
seen that.
but-
I've seen the
yeah.
trailer. Looks good with the cliff and all. Oh, here. I'm gonna watch
Anna's
it.
already
I'm
watched
gonna
it,
watch
man.
And so that's the
Right.
thing. Like once you get a good team of writers together with an idea, you can milk that dragon, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's, I think that's very much. I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
You know, so you look at other franchises that have done it. You know,
Well, I'll
whatever
give
you are
the hot tip,
scaring
man.
people and people are enjoying the story, and I think that's the big thing is that there is that possibility of it being true that people
That's why
cling
I
to,
think
and there's that fear factor that shit.
Yeah.
If I go to these places, if I go and see this, and that's that drawing aspect as well, like the museum, right? You go and watch the movie, and then you hear about the museum. Oh shit, I want to go and see that shit, you know? Or you
Nope.
might go, nope. Either way, there's a talking
Yeah.
point, isn't it? Like exactly what we're doing right now.
I
So
think that's why paranormal shit freaks me so much, is because,
you can't see
I
it.
mean, you can't see it, but like, I guess to me, I felt like I've kind of
You've had an experience.
I've had an experience with it. I've spoken to other people that have, like, my mum has even had stuff when she was younger. So I guess that's why that whole side of it kind of creeps me the fuck out. And just the way those Paranormal Activity movies were filmed, like, because it was like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so real.
camera, I'm going to set
But
it up
man,
here. And
Blair Witch was another good one when it
I
came
remember
out.
pissing
Bro, I used to
myself
have an
laughing in
Xbox
number
Connect,
two.
man. I never fucking hooked that motherfucker up again.
Yeah. That would have
it.
fucked you for Xbox.
Fuck no, man. I wasn't putting that shit on. No fucking way.
And the pool cleaner. It's like,
Bruh.
no more pools. That's okay.
That scene at the end of the fourth one when there's like fucking hundreds of them and shit around that house, bruh.
Ah, it's scary, man.
Man, I was in the fucking movie stoned as fuck, just going, no.
Do you remember Paranormal Activity 2? I remember this because I pissed myself laughing when I watched it in cinemas. You know when she gets dragged down the stairs?
Mm-hmm.
If you watch it in slow motion, man, you watch that bitch's head bounce off that fucking top step, right? And you will not be scared of that scene ever again. Like, it is fucking hilarious.
Is it the third one when he's like in the kitchen or whatever and the sheet walks in and then just drops?
Yeah.
Is that the third one? Man, that scared the fuck
They're all
out
the
of me.
same movie to me now. They've
Yeah.
all blended in.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
look,
yeah.
why we love being scared, all right?
Do we?
I think it's the same.
Speak
I
for
think we do.
yourself.
I think because we look for it. We make movies. We tell each other stories. Like we love being around the campfire and telling these stories. Now, look, I think it comes from a lot of things, like the endorphins you get when you catch a fish. I always talk about this. The endorphins you get when you light a fire. I think our primitive bodies, like, they not need to be scared, but I think the fear, that shock, it brings a lie of something in us that's ancient.
It sparks that
and that
fight or
teaches us a
flight.
lesson.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's-
it's like, okay,
like
I
an
shouldn't be
adrenaline
here.
rush.
I shouldn't be here. This is a feeling that's telling me you can't be here. And we like human beings, we're adventurers. We like to teeter on the edge of what we're allowed to do. Like, we're a crazy animal. Like, if fucking dogs look at us going, what are those crazy bastards doing on bikes and flying around in tubes and shit? They're like, look, be an animal, will you? What, you got a hat on? You know, like, we're crazy fucks. And I think that we're so far away from our apishness, or whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
That we're looking for ways to be scared now. We're looking for ways to we have fires out our back. We don't cook over an open fire, although we are in Australia and we cook over open motherfucking fires out our back.
But food
Well,
tastes better cooked on a fire. Just
It does. It just fucking. But
really
again,
fucking-
that's another thing.
I think it sparks that question as well, that we're scared of what we don't know, right?
yes.
And
Yeah.
there is so much that we still don't know about what happens after life, right? Because obviously
I
you
don't think
can't.
we'll ever know.
You won't know until you actually do.
Until it happens.
Right?
That's
and
right,
you can't
yeah.
come back and tell people. So it's that fear of not knowing and simply not knowing it and the possibilities and all that sort of thing. And once again, like I mentioned before with culture, like it comes down to what your cultural beliefs are. You know, you were talking about, Reese, about, you know, you had a paranormal experience and your mother did. But I remember my mother telling me a story that she saw in the backyard an old lady, an old Aboriginal lady, right? And it was, she'd only seen her through one photo, and it was from one that my grandfather had. And the lady that she saw had been passed away, but she was sitting on the ground weaving when they saw her, right? And they knew years down the track that she was dead, but that they said that they sat down there only young and they had a conversation with her, right? Yeah. And that is a cultural thing where, you know, the spirits are there to guide you and show you a way.
Well,
so
I mean, Indigenous Australian history is very spiritual, isn't it?
And that's
really?
what I mean. Like your cultural perception and the way you view things, and that's, you know, the Western society with spirits and ghosts and all that sort of thing is they're evil and all this sort of stuff. But the traditional cultures, they are your guiding light, and they are what you pay homage to, and essentially what you don't have a god, so to speak, in Aboriginal culture. Your god is spirits and your ancestors. You know, so that's a very broad way of looking at it. But yeah, it's interesting how different cultures perceive, you know, spirits and all those sorts of things, and that's why I find it so interesting in regards to the Warrens in that regard.
It's crazy too, like even going into the, you know, the histories of different religions, how similar they all are too. Like there's so many.
Yeah, they're nearly the same story.
100%.
Nearly the same.
So many cases, yeah. And it's all generally around the sun and the stars, and
it's all astronomy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like it's going back as far as Egyptian times and everything.
Horus.
Like that's right.
Horus is basically Jesus.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's fascinating, but not only that, the idea of the afterlife happened. So these stories that are very similar, yeah, you could say they are passed to each other. And what freaks me out is that you can look at the same similar things that happen in South America, in Africa, in the Middle East, and all around the world in different cultures are happening to cultures that never would have spoke, and that were not thousands, but they were away from each other, not just geographically, but historically.
Human nature.
It is fascinating. Why does everyone fucking build pyramids? Why, you know, there's so many correlations that we're on a weird track. Again, I'm someone that always tries to fall back onto logic and Occam's razor and what the most likely explanation is to stuff. But I love delving into the possibilities and definitely historical traditions and where they come from, because they've got to come from somewhere. And there's a reason why it meant that much to people, that they built their whole civilization around it, and that they gave their life to it and their philosophy to it. I love it. It's good shit.
And see, I mean, that sort of brings us to our final points, doesn't it? About, you know, what's the biggest thing that scares you with it? And as I mentioned before, talking and looking into the Salem witch trials, the thing that scares me the most is not supernatural or the paranormal and all those sorts of things.
Hold up, wait, there's a fucking
Kiwi spirit.
She's back. You get that fucking chair. She's in the chair. I want your fashion chops.
But
we're fucked now.
You're getting dead evil right now, bro.
We respect the people of the North and South Islands.
Yes, respectfully.
I'm gonna get the shit kicked out of me.
The thing that you can't do a thing right, can you?
No.
The thing that scares me the most, as I mentioned before, was the capabilities of human beings, especially when they're scared. But you were joking about Hitler before, but you look at some of the fucked up shit there.
Man.
Salem witch trials and some of the shit that happened there, even prior to that.
We boiled people, mate. You look back in Europe, they're boiling people, they're pulling them apart, they're putting fucking pokers up our bums, pressing someone to death. I think we'll squash him.
Yep.
Let's squash him. We found every way. We put you inside of a fucking brass bowl and we'll burn you to death. We'll fucking.
What about the fucking liquid metal into people's fucking throats and shit, bro?
There's no T1000's not real.
So even without the torture methods, without the torture methods, man, like you look at the way that we will blatantly discriminate against someone and commit some of the most heinous crimes against them simply because of something that they can't help, right? And I, once again, I mean to make it political, but that's the thing that scares me the most, because we are still fucking doing it. We haven't learned from our mistakes. You look at, the events or the things that we were just talking about.
Just look at the segregation we have got, the vaccine, bro.
Man.
You're right. You're exactly right.
Don't even start. You fucking motherfucker. Right? But...
In a way, the Salem witches were very much like the unvaccinated.
That's right.
And I'd imagine both of them live in a house with quite a lot of animals. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, you're going to get me in trouble because I'm going to say something.
I didn't mean to make this political, but COVID-19. Conspiracy theory.
Witchcraft. COVID's just sitting back going, I'm a what?
It's like, don't put me in the fucking... I'm not... The Warrens would have loved this shit.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah.
But, yes, so... you're a pair of fuckwits. But
I'm sorry, mate.
No, it's all good. The things that human beings are capable of, I think we need to be more scared of those and what could possibly happen, or what we can't see.
Far worse than any spirit's going to ever be.
And we're guaranteed. We've got the receipts are there. The proof is there. We'll fucking genocide, all types of aside. We will come and we will burn a fucking
Fireside.
Towns. They'll take your cult. Fireside, genocide, regicide, fireside. You know what I mean?
Fireside.
Human beings will fuck you up, and we are still doing it. We have
no reason.
It's much scarier for no reason. It might be. You know what? This my little 4-year-old daughter had a dream, a nightmare that next door neighbor woman with the creepy cat. She's a fucking witch. Let's burn her. It can be that. It can be honor killings. It can be fucking. It can be keeping your fucking kid in a basement like Fritzl. We are fucked. It can be this poor little. Was her name Chloe Smith? There's kid Madeleine McCann. There are freaking horrible people out there. Real people doing real shit. It's not even on a large scale. On a little scale, human beings are fucked. I'm black pilled. You know what I mean? I'm not red or blue pill. I'm black pill. I'm oblivion, abyss pilled on humanity in some ways. But I've also have a lot of hope. The fact that we've turned some of these you fuck that. I'm gonna have one of them after this. We changed these. We look at Salem witch trials and we've changed it into a commercial holiday. Halloween is a commercial holiday. Christmas is a commercial holiday. All these things we've changed them into fun little season times of the year when we get together. We've brought them away from the spiritual.
In a positive, it brings people
in
together.
A positive way. Now, and there's less crime nowadays. There is less witch burnings. You know what I mean? There is less. Exactly. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time we brought some of these back. But
it'd be less
but
trouble
I do think we're getting better.
Huh?
But I am black pilled. Although I would like to believe that from a Western perspective of spirits that are creepy and scary, or even from a traditional or an ancient perspective about them, they're looking out for us. There's positives and negatives to take from everything, whether it's religion or politics or any ideology, that's not associated with any kind of supernatural shit. So ultimately, everybody out there, just be nice. Just be fucking nice. Be nice to people.
You want to do a promo for whenever your blacked video's coming out?
I don't know what that means. Is that something to do with
Sure,
porn?
someone will get it.
Is that something to do with porn?
No, never.
All right. Well, then I don't care.
Fuck, nearly choked on my beer then. Anyway,
Welcome
that's
to
going to
the-
bring us. That's a
That
scary.
also has nothing to
that,
do
that
with
might bring us to the end of this show. I think.
maybe.
Reese, your host this
I
week.
don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've covered a lot of the stuff that I kind of.
Well, there is more to the Warrens, right? Isn't there?
There was so much about
Yeah.
them, man. Like, I kind of just focused more on the Amityville thing because it was like their biggest, most famous thing. I guess.
That's
So,
how you
I
connect
suppose
with
the
everybody,
question is-
because everybody knows something. Funnily enough,
Yeah.
they've
And it
injected
wasn't
themselves.
until I actually didn't I try to give you Amityville, and I didn't even realize that they were connected. Like,
Yeah.
That's
know
right,
what I
in the
mean?
meeting.
So-
That's right. You're like, I'm going to give you
Yeah.
Amityville. I was like, oh, I don't think you can. You're right.
no.
Already given you that, man.
Yeah.
That's your
But
problem.
man, you know what? I'm so super stoked that I gave you Stingy Jack because that was the ultimate opening to this.
Anybody can
episode.
stop watching after Dave's fucking segment, man, because
100%, man. You could just.
I was planning that.
It was perfect.
oh man,
was perfect.
when you pulled that fucking coin, I was like, fuck, this cunt. He just
Right.
This
comes.
coin is an Irish coin.
Yeah.
There's Ireland on it. And it's a commemorative coin from 1916 Easter Rebellion of Irish Republicans. And funnily enough, see all those dudes there? The heads,
No.
the little heads? They're all executed. All these
Oh,
dudes
right.
are executed dudes.
Yeah, right. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So it is a bit of a creepy coin. They were shut up against the wall in Kilmainham jail. Happy Halloween, everybody. Good night.
All right, Reese. So Dave and I have done what fucking scares us the most. What have you got? What scares you the most apart from your jack-o'-lantern going out behind you?
Oh yeah, fuck. Oh yeah, I've even got.
Who built that piece of shit?
Yeah.
It's
Everything
lovely.
I
It is.
do in life fails,
I
bro.
store-bought mine.
Bought it.
Hang on, I need to. Should I spark?
Is my humidifier's gone as well? Look, my humidifier died too.
That's no good.
180 minutes. We must have gone long.
Watch Reese burn himself.
3 hours.
Watch Reese burn himself right now.
Maybe it ran out of oil. And it's got a regulator in there that doesn't burn the house down. Which I don't think these motherfuckers have. They're death trap. They're the fucking death trap. And all that stuff up there is blue tack. So I was like, that's gonna fall down halfway through the episode. It's gonna be brilliant.
There you go. Stingy Jack's
Well-
back.
Before I go and say it, though, I'll just like to give a big shout out to Hannah. I think Hannah did
Yeah,
a
me
fucking
too.
lovely job on that. I'm
Huge
gonna give a
shout out.
shout out to Em as well. She
yeah.
I kind of told her what to do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna brag.
Big shout out to Rowie and Joe for Vinno's beautiful head.
Yeah, they made that face.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
They're
easy.
gonna watch this, and I
wasn't
can
easy.
guarantee
Good,
you.
I hope they do.
No, I can
I love
guarantee
you,
you,
Rowie.
Joe is going to be sitting there going, "These motherfuckers." Right?
Yeah.
I love you, Joey. Give me second,
Good.
man.
Good egg.
Isn't
Good
it
egg.
beautiful? Isn't it good? Look, I love that. Like, Em wanted to put like a little. She bought all this stuff like staples and all, and I was gonna have a bit of a Dave.
See,
bit.
originally, because I did the beer can thing the other week, right? I kind
that
of
was
wish I
wicked.
hadn't sent any photos or anything of that because
Yeah.
that would have been cool as fuck. But
Oh,
the
shit,
other one I
might
was
do
going to
some
do
fuck,
was
man.
actually like a split wound going down my nose that was stapled together.
Fuck yeah.
But I kind of just went, just make me look dead and injured as fuck. And this is
Just made me look heaps Vinno.
no.
I don't have enough makeup. You can buy a swimming cap, but I need a swimming face.
Fuck this guy. Go back home.
Like,
Go home.
Uncle,
Go back to your own country.
Hey, oh, I'll only accept that from you, an Indigenous Australian. Like, I didn't come here. I'm not a boat person. I came here on a plane.
That's the only time you'll ever hear me say that today.
He's an upper
The
class.
discrimination on Fireside Yarns is this fucking disgrace.
Reese.
I'm gonna haunt you, motherfucker. I'm gonna call Stingy Jack my boy.
I hope you do. Fuck, that would be the funniest haunting. Imagine
It
Dave
would.
popping up at your bedside just going, Like, you
Especially
fucking-
with that face, especially him imitating the English accent.
Hello, I'm the devil. I'm
Hello.
the evil boss. You
I'm here to fucking haunt you.
governor. I'll have you, Longshanks.
You've never been
Hello,
fucking
Reese.
haunted like you're going to be now, lad.
Well fit, innit?
We are having a bubble bath up in here.
Have you shit yourself, mate?
People. No, you know what? We do not apologise. I'm taking it right now. Fireside Yarns is an anti-English establishment and company, okay? If you want some, come and get some, motherfuckers, all right? Reese, take us out, Reese.
You've worked him up.
Look,
the Halloween IRA, HIRA.
Halloween, it's been a fun as fuck episode. Hopefully you'll have learned something, because I definitely have. If you, I want to know about your stories. If you've got any supernatural shit, or even just, I don't know, some knowledge on the subjects we even touched on, we would love to hear it.
More importantly, tell us what Halloween means to you. If it's a community thing, if it's become part of your family, part of your life, or if it always has been, get in there and tell us. We'd love to know. We'd love to hear about it.
Get at us.
Absolutely.
Cool as shit.
And remember to like and subscribe and whack that notification bell. That notification bell.
Hit that dirty bell. Get amongst it. Yeah. No, look, guys. It's been
and only watch the first part of this video.
It's been all downhill since they finished this story time.
I
so
think
if
I've
you
had
stuck
fun.
around this long.
I've loved talking about the Warrens and the witch trials. I've had having a fucking blast here. I think it's
This is cool. I've definitely had a couple of fucking tinnies too. So
I was gonna say I've had a little bit of help. A little bit of help from the
a little bit of help.
from the
I feel like my
gods.
face is actually half fallen off right now. My cheek feels a bit weird.
I'm
probably
definitely a percentage of spirit right now for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So, serious. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Last episode, huge feedback. Best episode we've done so far, view-wise.
How important was that episode?
It was very important, and it was a good trip down memory lane for us and for the Hewitt boys as well. And very important subject, and it was awesome. So let's keep the ball rolling. I don't know what we're going to have next week. Probably, I don't know. We'll wing it. We'll think of something. But really enjoying bringing this stuff out. And tonight was fun as shit. I had actually a super good time carving out old Jackie over there this morning.
That is nice, man. That was well done.
I'm pretty proud of it.
I said at the start, for a number 2, it's not shit.
Yeah,
I have to say, it's fucking nice. It's fucking, and I love, because I like Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm not as big as fan as my missus, who's fucking, she loves that shit. And there's a lot of people that's a cult classic too. But that's a beautiful pumpkin. It's not just a normal one. You went all out.
He did well.
I did. It took me a good hour and a half, I reckon.
Nice. That's commitment.
Solid carving. There's some solid carving going on.
I've just got my fucking second face in the background, man. That's all I've got for decoration.
Yeah, better half.
Yeah, fuck yeah. This is Corinne.
Wow.
She was here earlier. She looked lovely. She was an angel in that sea, and then she got replaced with you.
Yeah.
How dare you, mate? How dare you?
Satan's spawn.
Fuck yeah. No, he's in bed.
Did you say he's in bed?
Yeah, it's Oliver.
Don't talk about Rin like that.
Hey.
All
Oliver, difference, yeah.
Take us out.
Right. Yeah,
we're getting ourselves into trouble here.
We're going to get in trouble. Thanks for tuning in again, guys. Till next week.